expenditures that have taken place as of May 10th, 2017. And you'll notice in the agenda cover, we've had an increase in expenditure of funds from the prior year, from the prior month. Of importance, probably, everything's important, but maybe summarily of importance is that summary sheet I handed out right before the beginning of the meeting, which basically outlines exactly how we spent the $88 million that were authorized. How much of that we spent to date? $67.4 million, $5.6 million encumbered, leaving approximately $15 million of authorization among the various categories. And as you can see, we put that report right now, remaining from the original authorization, $32 million for district-wide remodeling renovation. We have $5.2 million left. District-wide athletic program out of $10 million that was approved. We have $4.3 million still to expend in that area. Student technology, $4.3 million roughly. Security upgrades, $172.88. Fine Arts Magnet School, $1.8 million. And transportation, $10,900. The rest of $15,048,000. So currently we have the county treasurer, $11.3 million on hand with the treasurer's office. And again, the next sale is not anticipated until spring of 2019. So basically we're looking at 11.3 to last us until 2 more years for projects that will be presented to BOC to review and recommend to approve to the governing board over the next 2 years. So unless you have any questions, this is an information item.
All of the audience?
No, none.
Apollo Middle School gym floor. Mr. Lieutenant?
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo. As Bob may recall, in prior meetings we've had parents come to the committee expressing concerns regarding the lack of an adequate gym floor at some of the middle schools, specifically, I think it was Apollo and Challenger that we were informed of. And yes, it is true that those two facilities, Challenger and Apollo, do not have what you consider a gym floor. It's really a vinyl tile floor that was striped with some basketball lines and volleyball lines, and we put baskets in this gymnasium, and that's basically what's serving the kids in that capacity. And there is a need to really provide this facility an adequate gymnasium floor. Mr. Gomez has looked at some options available to us to look at, and the recommendation to the committee is to consider obtaining your approval to recommend to the governing board that it install a floor covering, and I think I'll let Mr. Gomez go into more detail over the existing floor that really provide a good quality gymnasium type floor for this facility. In addition, at Apollo, if you will recall, before building the new gymnasium, the cafeteria for the stages that served as a gymnasium also, and that floor also is an old
Yeah, I was.
So anyway, we're looking at options for that floor also, but at tonight's meeting, we don't have a recommendation for that floor, because I think one of the things we looked at is that the use of that gymnasium / cafeteria is more a cafeteria, which and serves as a spillover gym. But we do need to look at that floor. We're looking at other options besides this cover.
Mr. Verdugo, as we pull up the attachment that's on there, one of the things that I just want to mention, and why we even brought this up, I know it wasn't a discussion. I know the gym floors, it's horrible at Apollo. I mean, I saw for myself just the other night, the gym and the cafeteria floor, the linoleum is fairly old. So I'm not suggesting right now that we replace with this type of turf in there, but I think it should be a strong consideration given it's being used more and more now by community. There was a big event the other night, and it was fairly embarrassing, the quality of the floor. I know, Ms. Lopez, you've been there numerous times in the gym, and so it would be a strong consideration, but nothing for approval. But I figure we put both on the table, because they're almost kind of similar in nature, but they're and if you've gotten more recently, they're in pretty bad shape. So I just want to clarify why we even mentioned it here, even though we had not had previous discussion. It just seems like a logical next step in that place. Because even though they're shrinking in enrollment, and Mr. Sproul and I have had this discussion, it's still a facility that will probably stay no matter whether we mothball a building or not, depending on the size. Yeah, just scroll down.
So would this be proposed out of the athletic portion? or-
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Cafeteria also?
Yes, sir. Unless you, I mean, that organization is being brought to the board tonight.
Okay. I mean, just being included in the first part that I see, the dollar applies, but if it's just for discussion, I understand that, but I just think that the cafeteria should be not out of the athletic fund.
I also think cafeteria should go under renovation and remodeling because it's basically technically or whatever, not a gym anymore, like it was back in the past. It's more the cafeteria or meeting area instead of for athletics.
No problem.
And yeah, the floor does need to be redone, but I think it should come out of a different kitty.
I was going to gather some bids for the June Bach for that cafeteria. There's some excellent products out right now by Interstate Flooring that where they can surface over that, and it's that new type of planking as far as the proportions of it, but it's a synthetic material that has a lot of flexibility in wear, and they're using it in some schools where they still have the cafeteria as also the gym. And it comes in, a wood grain look, appearance, or different colors and patterns and so forth. So that was one of the products I wanted to get a price on, to juxtapose to this price, which is really mainly for gym floors.
I have a question. Since it's old linoleum, would you have to check for the asbestos on that flooring because it's older than old?
If you removed it, we'll have an abatement issue, and we'll have to.
So
have it-
then you're suggesting this method of flooring because it would just be an overlay?
And be the casing.
You still wouldn't have to check for asbestos?
No, the only thing you would be,
Only if you lift
if
it?
it was cracked, it was cracking. I mean, my understanding is if asbestos is brittle and it's exposed to cracking, then you have to address it that way. But if you encase it, so long as it's encased, there shouldn't be any issues regarding the containing of asbestos. Because it'll be sealed.
Yeah, because I was just wondering, the cost of this floor versus like we were flooring in the other school, the cement,
Polishing.
the polished concrete. I was just, but another alternative. So what would the cost be then? Because we'd have to remove the asbestos, check that, the tile, check that, and whatever this overlay cost versus pulling out the tile and doing the polished concrete. I guess we'd have to have a...
The abatement will probably be more than the tile.
Yes.
Yes.
I think, Mr. Without something we'll come back to as we look at kind of exploring the tile options and see what's feasible and then what's legal in terms of what really we can or cannot do. So we'll bring out the recommendation and check with our legal trust as well. And what are the parameters of guidelines?
I'm not so sure that you cover up a problem doesn't mean that the problem still doesn't exist. I mean, you still have asbestos, whether it's encased or covered, you still have asbestos. So, I'm not...
But you're allowed to do that,
Yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
not quite sure.
because that's what we do at work. As long as you encase it, and as long as you don't mess with it, then you don't have to address it.
So once you start cracking, it becomes cracked and exposed, that's when you have an issue
Do
then.
we have any cracks right now that you can see in that floor?
Or chips.
I'd have to look at it again for you.
Because that would be also an area of concern. If it's cracking right now, it's going to keep cracking underneath whatever you have, right? So I think we need a little bit more hands on people, especially covering that. We know it's asbestos.
Just want to make sure we clarify, if this is still, is this question of asbestos one that has to be answered for purposes of the gym floor as well?
Not that I'm aware of, because it's wood. If we're covering a wood floor,
The one that,
unless,
Apollo is no wood.
then it would be something we have to research into also.
It would be, my understanding of the product is that it's a board, kind of, what's the word?
Well, it is.
Polyurethane, yeah, exactly.
It is, they fill any gaps, they sand certain areas, they level it down, and then they pour a urethane, a new urethane product over it that is highly recommended by Arizona gym floors for its durability and its appearance and being able to hold the striping on it and so forth. So the bid would include re-putting the striping and just like some of the pictures we had there of the new floors. But I'll go ahead and still research into that issue of asbestos with Floyd at Arizona Gym Floors, just to make sure that we have that tied off, whether it's a code issue or a health issue, that we get, I feel comfortable when I get something in writing from the health department or a building official that says you can do this or you can't do this, but at least we know.
Also, if there's already cracks that are prevalent right now, you can see something put in and then you still see the cracks. You know? So, I mean, you see it all the time. You see paving over an area that hasn't been properly sealed, you still see all the cracks that are with it. So if we're going to spend this much money for this, it'd be nice to know that it's not going to show any of those cracks that they exist.
I'll ask him about that, because I know with tile, they have slip sheets, you know. So with a product like this, if there's a structural crack, I'll ask him how they address that. Perhaps they have a slip sheet idea for that also.
So do these costs include any graphics of any type?
They include the school logo and the striping for basketball and volleyball, and the fittings for volleyball and the flooring.
How long is the life of the flooring that you're talking about putting in again? As long as it doesn't get cracks in it?
Well, I'll verify the years. I can get a statement from Floyd at Arizona Gym Floors, but he said that they're having great success with it, and there's a trend where more and more schools and facilities are going towards this kind of flooring in lieu of demolishing the existing floor, and so you don't have that cost to it. And with this one, if there's anything loose, they re-nail it down or glue it down, they tighten everything up. If there's any holes, they fill them, and then they pour this new urethane product over it. They float it, and then after it dries, they go ahead and they can add their colors, solid colors, their striping, and they make sure their screw-ons are in place for volleyball if that's part of the court system, and they're getting a lot of good wear out of it.
So the parts where the bleachers are on top of the floor, with all the weight of all the people that will be getting on it, that won't bother it?
No. Not unless there's old bleachers that when you pull them out right now, they're digging into the wood, well then they would dig into the new surface too. But if it's a normal bleacher that has wheels that functions normally, it's not a problem with the flooring. They use this, it's very common for gym floors, and gyms, most of them have that, the pull-out bleachers.
Okay, so when the life of the floor is over, whatever amount of years it is, whether it's 10, 15, 20, will they need to have some kind of a special method of taking the floor out so that you don't contaminate everything around you?
That's a good question. I don't know, but I'll look into that and I'll find out an answer.
And also the cost that would be to take that same floor out if they decide that it's no longer any good, because even though you put stuff over asbestos and stuff, you still have the probability that something's going to crack and you're not going to be able to get to it right away. And what amount of people that would be running over it back and forth would be infected by the asbestos itself.
Okay, I'll get answers to all those questions.
Just for Bob's information and additional information is that We are currently going to have a recertification of all district facilities to do a reinspection of all previously identified asbestos-containing materials by an outside consultant. This is required to be done every 3 years, the recertification. And Mr. Potter and Mr. Valencia and Mr. Valdez have met and discussed this issue. When we meet with that firm, as soon as we do the recertification, we'll bring this up to their attention. And address it.
Motion on this.
Just one thing. So if you're going to bring this back, can you just have this vendor include in his wording that it's going to include the logo? Just so when they do the flooring and there is no logo, we don't say, hey, you guys told us they're going to put a logo.
Yes, I'll include that.
Not Mr. Rodriguez.
Yeah.
I have a question. So are you asking for a vote for the gym floor, or are we going to table it till we get more information? So then I would make a motion to table it till we get further information.
So if you're going to bring this in June and we vote on it, do you have enough time to put it in? No. So it'll be till the following year?
That'll probably be done some break, probably, hopefully,
October.
How long does it take to put this in?
About 2 weeks. Any new gym flooring, they wouldn't put in until after the floor. They would demo the existing, if we're putting in new gym seating, they would demo the old seating first, they would do the floor, and then they would put in the new seating after that.
So is there any way we can approve this in principle? I mean, the only concern is,
I think the recommendation would be that we proceed with approval to the governing board to make this improvement with the condition that all issues regarding asbestos will be addressed prior to any implementation.
Correct.
Installation of the floor.
that way you can take advantage of getting it done over the summer.
Well, and also we can get an answer to Mr. Hernandez's question about what happens after, what's the longevity and what happens afterwards? Can it easily be resurfaced, or does it have to be demoed, and at what expense and so forth?
So I think the only thing we'd have to agree is if we're going to put a gym floor in the cafeteria or just new vinyl tile over it.
I would suggest just a regular cafeteria floor, and that should come out of the renovations and remodeling fund instead of athletics.
Well, do they use it for athletic functions now, even though it's being used as a cafeteria?
I don't believe
Really
they do.
none.
So they don't have, if they have a tournament, they don't use both courts? Okay, so then, yeah, it should, out of the
It
renovation.
should be, they're separated.
I think that we should just focus on the gym.
Come back on the floor.
Is that gonna, is there a reason, I think I know the answer to this, but it's all about timing, since you're gonna have a flooring company that are doing the gym, it'd be nice to have them doing the cafeteria at the same time.
Saving $4,000.
Well, that's to be applied the same floor material. I think the recommendation at this point is not to go over the same floor material in the cafeteria. The recommendation that's being made today is approval to proceed with the main gym. We'll bring back the cafeteria at the gym.
Right. And just for clarification, I think you asked a good question, Mr. Drew. Part of it is also, because they're going to be redoing this, and it's really adjacent to it. And so it just sends a bad message. You just redid this whole beautiful gym floor, but the cafeteria looks horrible in relation. So it was just more of that community message as we're looking at this, that there's, what's that?
You mean the flow?
Yeah. It will look a lot nicer if it doesn't give the message of take one area of greater importance than the other that is equally bad.
But then it also states on here there's a savings of $4,000.
But that's if they use the same material.
Right.
That's correct. Yeah,
So it's even going to be less if they go to the vinyl.
Yeah.
I have a question with respect to all the challenging Sierra. Is the same issue going to be applied to those gym floors?
My understanding is Sierra, because they're wood floors, it would be a whole different process. And there's two proposals on that, to refinish or redo. And so it would not be the same.
Would be an issue with the Challenger one either, I think?
Challenger is, to the gymnasium, it's the same
But,
as this gym.
but Challenger's built after, there shouldn't be any asbestos issues, correct?
The real problem there is just Apollo as part of the expense.
Yes, sir. As we know, I would have to confirm that, but we're almost positive that Bill's built way after that concern.
So then we could approve this, that they, any accreditation, Apollo can be expenses investigation.
We'll follow.
Yes, sir.
Because the motion is for the main gym floor, but you're throwing in the cafeteria.
No, we're not.
No,
No, okay.
We'll wait till June. We'll wait till June.
Okay.
Have a motion and an application.
I'd like to make a motion that recommend that we approve the governing board installation of a new gym floor at Apollo Middle School in the gymnasium from Arizona gym floors for $62,212.64. And also with that motion that all issues concerning the abatement or possible abatement of the asbestos flooring or the flooring in place.
I second.
Roll call.
Ms. Baca?
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Romero? Mr. Sproul?
Yes.
Mr. Tomaine? Mr. Verdugo?
Yes.
Challenger Middle School gym floor, Mr. Encinas.
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo. Again, the recommendation is to have Bach recommend to the governing board approval to install this Dyna turf gymnasium floor cover at Challenger Middle School in the amount of $48,617.68 under contract 1 GPA 14-150.
I haven't read the proposal, but is the area smaller, is that why the price is cheaper?
I think it is, that's why.
Remember the square footage.
Challenger's gym is smaller than Apollo's gym is not.
Looks like the Challenger looks longer, where Apollo's totally spread out larger.
Bleacher area as well,
Yeah.
like the distance between the court and the bleachers at Apollo is much wider from Challenger.
You don't have a square footage on that, Mr. Bomas, the comparison between the Apollo Middle School gym and Challenger as far as square footage?
Not before me, I don't.
Would you say that Challenger is smaller, the area? than Apollo?
I believe so, because I believe Floyd's bids were all based on square footage for that same product. And they do the same service where they make sure that the existing floor is stable and level before they pour it.
What do we have right now at Challenger, the same thing, Kyle? Similar or essentially?
The linoleum.
Vinyl flooring?
I'm just concerned with the other, like wrestling. Don't they have like dollies that they bring the equipment out on? Those don't need to be replaced, so they don't damage that floor? They don't have any other equipment that they're going to bring out onto that surface? That equipment needs to be addressed as well?
Like the care we're trying to take with the tracks.
Like at work, we put brand-new floors down the corridors, and you get these guys with the forklifts, and they drag the pallets, and the nails stick out like this, and they ruin the floors. Jeez.
Mr. Hodges.
So then you're talking the same problem at Apollo?
Right, both schools.
And then Sierra,
Yeah, and replacing dollies and stuff like that, I mean, they might as well do it and protect that investment on the gym floor.
You're talking all three schools, but
Yeah. But that could come back to us in a different,
as far as equipment for all three schools.
What do we have right now as far as bleachers in the challenge gym?
They have the original bleachers that were,
Aluminum or?
I think they're not aluminum, I think they're old wooden bleachers.
And they're all along the north.
That's
north
correct.
wall,
One-
one side.
One side.
One side. And all in north wall.
Are those be removed at force or the floor and put it back?
Yes.
And then, is there, have you had a chance to look at them, see if they're having any repair or any type of renovation before we put them back?
We just had the discussion. I mean, part of the issue is how much do we really take on? They probably would need some repair. Because we haven't talked about bleachers, I was reluctant to put another cost forward, quite frankly. And maybe that's something we do later. The problem is we're doing it now, we go ahead and do it. I just don't know if that's going to incur much more cost. And we can explore it and bring it in June, and maybe give us some time, at least if we can get the bid, then we can look at bleacher costs, and then at least minimally you'll have them in front of you, and you'll say, nah, it's way too much, let's not go down that road. You want to do, is that all right?
Because I mean, when we go back, it's not a good point, I'm just thinking about that, you go to the expense of removing everything to refurbish the floor, you got beautiful product, and then you put this other stuff back, and it needs repair, and you know, almost like pain.
Should have done
I
it.
had a question, when we walked through the school, they were having a problem with their sound system, there was something in the floor, it was in the floor. I remember, was that ever repaired? Yeah, because it was going to do the floor, but I thought the hookup, the power source was in the floor somewhere over by the bleachers. And so I was wondering if that was repaired, because it came way down the flooring.
We can have Mr. Baca look at,
Absolutely.
if there's any, like, any mic attachments or...
I'll follow up on that.
Because it was over there by where the bleachers are on the north side. It was on the floor.
Typically, those floor things have existing conduit that can be reused, you know, the flooring can still be installed over that conduit. We can, if there are problems with the cabling in there, we can rerun them. So I'll have to follow up and I'll follow up with a report that Sandy can send out to you what the status is on.
And I believe, Mr. Verdugo, that's only unique to Challenger, correct? Where they have the mic plugins in the actual floor themselves.
Would it be the same as
Well,
continuous?
intention,
Yeah.
supposed to, in terms of the nurse, that work for you?
sure.
Okay. Okay, I'll make the recommendation that we approve the installation of a new floor gym for Challenger Middle School based on the contingency on the equipment, the audio, and bleacher repair.
Do we want to address the bleacher at this point?
My preference would be to bring the bleachers in June, just a cost, and you guys can tell us if it's way out of line for right now, this
Okay,
project.
Sandy, knock off the
Do
bleacher.
that.
Just do.
Floor and movement is-
Yeah.
I'll give it a second. You kind of have those concerns.
Okay.
Roll call?
Ms. Baca?
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez? Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez? Ms. Romero?
Yes.
Mr. Sproul?
Yes.
Ms. Tomei? Mr. Verdugo?
Yes. Sierra 2-8, gym floor,
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo. Sierra Middle School currently has a nice wooden gym floor that's in overall good shape. There's some dead spots in the existing floor that can be addressed, and some broken boards that need to be repaired also. We looked at the option of replacing that wooden gym floor with a new wood gym floor, and it's over $90,000 to do that, versus $17,581 to have an outside company come in and refurbish that floor down to the wood, resanding it down, refinish it, and restripe it at a cost of $17,581. So that's a recommendation that you approve that recommended that floor, existing floor at Sierra Middle School be refurbished and refinished at a cost of $17,581.38.
Mr. Macias, you're saying 17 here, read 16 on our sheet.
Post
And then
tax.
I think it says the price to repair a broken board is $25 each. How many broken boards do we have?
Not to exceed $20,000.
Oh, not to exceed,
Not to
okay.
exceed. Yeah, but you're right, it is $25 per board, but not to exceed $2,500. So the total amount not to exceed $20,081 is
Okay, read the page. Yeah.
So I'm not knowing what the subfloor is like under this. Is it an option to remove the wood floor and put in the type of floor we're putting at the other two schools?
What, yeah, price difference there?
I think given Mr. Gomez, maybe you went with the vendor out there to look at the facility, right? They looked at the
Right,
facility.
with Floyd Shelton of Arizona Gym Floors. And it would be less than the $91,000 to replace it. And he would go through the process of, making sure that the floor is secure, replacing some if they need to make sure there's no voids, so that the floor is secure and level, so that it's sound structurally before they put their coating on it. But based on the other bids of the other gyms, I would think that it might be $20,000 or $30,000 less than the $91,000 bid if they went with the urethane coating.
Yeah, because I'm just looking at the number. If we're going to spend $18,000 just to refinish it, is it more prudent to spend the $18,000 just to remove it and put a new floor
Urethane?
similar to the other ones?
Are you urethane?
I mean, I don't know how the coaches would feel about that. Probably wouldn't like it, but
If you give a coach the choice between a wooden floor and
Sure.
a urethane, then they go with it.
sure.
How long do gym floors usually last?
That's the original gym floor. It was built in '76.
My understanding is, I remember, I
40.
guess about 7 years ago, the gym flooded, and I thought they replaced a large part of that gym.
At Sunnyside High School.
No, at Sierra Middle School.
I don't remember.
Yeah, yes, I remember. That was about 7 or 8 years ago, and I'm pretty sure they put a whole new floor.
Mr. Raymond, do you?
There was, within the last decade, there was a flood that ruined most of that floor.
So that floor really isn't that old.
Probably why it's in piece of shape.
That's-
It's not in bad shape, but it could definitely use refinishing, which is about that. So to your point, probably if it's a fairly new floor, to take it out, it probably is in pretty good structural condition, with just a refinish would probably be more appropriate.
Okay.
Brought it up to 17.
Right. And the proposal does include, they're going to sand it down to the bare wood, going to reline it, 2 new logos, so. Questions?
I'll make a motion. A motion that we approve Arizona Gym Floors to be finished the main gym as indicated above from the Ohio contract in the amount of $17,581. 16,702 plus 878 tax, and then $25 per board, not to exceed $2,500. And the total amount of the project, sanding, refinishing, changing, logos, everything, not to exceed $20,081.38.
Roll call.
Ms. Baca?
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Romero?
Yes.
Mr. Sproul?
Yes.
Ms. Tremaine? Mr. Verdugo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sierra Jim
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo. You can't have a brand new gym floor without the bleachers, can you? Okay. The bleachers at Sierra Middle School are the original bleachers. And proposal is to install brand new bleachers that will be compliant in terms of ADA. And also, will look better in terms of increasing capacity. I think more seating will be provided than is currently provided. And then the other thing is that one of the things that the vendors proposing is that they'll do us a favor and dismantle the bleachers and take away the wood and sell it. Probably that's old wood that you're talking about. We'd like to repurpose that wood for our purposes, you know, because barn wood's what do you call it, barnyard wood or barn wood? It's expensive wood. It's old wood, so we like.
They're going to take it apart and give it back to the district.
Yeah, that's what we're telling them. You can take off the bleachers, take off the metal, and give us a wood. That's the deal. That's it. So the proposal is to have those bleachers replaced with brand new bleachers from Norcon at a cost of $47,157.62, and that the district maintain and repurpose that wood for our purposes.
Right there. They'll address all those, right?
So pull those out.
I have a question. So if they evaluated these bleachers and they're in those kinds of conditions, were the other bleachers looked at all? At the other schools, at Apollo or Challenger?
I can't say, I don't know.
We didn't evaluate it.
Yeah, I don't recall having any comments from the principals about it. Usually the principals are the ones that bring it up if they're having issues with them or if they don't pull out or if they're not functioning properly. But Sierra's was a problem, and that's why we have the 2015 estimate to refurbish those. But if we did it, since then, there's been some change in code. So if we refurbished them today, in addition, if they kept the same price for 2 years, and it would be $28,886.22, we'd still have to pay cost because they'd have to change the aisles for ADA. You also can't have 9-inch steps from going from seat to seat, which was refurbishing those bleachers. So the new code would apply. And they would also have to put railings on the sides of the bleachers once you get to a certain height. So those would be additions to the refurbishing contract. The new bleachers include all those things.
So this proposal says 2 banks on one side of the gym?
Yes.
Do we have it on
Let's
both
see.
sides of the gym?
It'll be both sides.
Yeah,
Bank A and Bank B. Bank A is one side, Bank B is the other side.
Right.
So it's 192 on one side and 190 on the other? No, 240.
The total of 378, yeah, 240 on one bank and 190 on the other.
Yes. So are they going to be plastic, Mr.?
They would?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so there's a variety of colors that they can order that seating in.
And they are manual, correct?
Pardon?
They're manual. You move
Yes.
them manual.
Yeah, because this proposal says 2 banks on one side of the gym, each 60 foot,
Says wood.
right at the very top.
What says wood?
You're taking the, what's the difference between the first and second proposal? You have 2 attachments.
I think it's 2 sections of bleachers, but they're only going to put them on one side of the gym. I mean, that's the way I understand it.
Is it the first proposal, Mr.
On
Sproul?
that
You're looking at
The
the
very
very
first
first.
page.
It's actually, the one we're looking at, I believe, is,
I think it's saying north and south because it's two sections of banks of seating. So they're going to put one section on the north side that has so many seats, and then the south side on the same wall is going to have so many seats.
yeah. I believe the second attachment,
They were on one side?
no, there's two sides.
That's what I'm saying.
Should be the second attachment, my understanding, which speaks to the brand-new bleachers. Sure I have that right. Because there it does say North Bank and then South Bank. Right, that way you're,
When we first line reads, 2 banks on one each side of the gym.
So the way I read it is you're going to put this section on this side and then the other one here.
Same size, same.
I mean, that's the way I read the proposal.
what's the intent of the proposal, Mr. Gomez?
Oh, that's what I'm looking at right here.
Because they have them right now on the east side and the west side. So they're going to replace the east side and west side like for like, I'm sure, pretty close amount of.
I don't recall
Part says wood.
Floyd mentioning any different arrangement than what was there already. So I would think it would be on the east and the west side. But he does show in his proposal, there's 2 different banks, and he identifies that also. One's 74 feet and a few inches, and the other one's 59 feet 3 inches. Both, 74 3 inches and 59 3 inches. The 2 banks of seating.
It's your north and south side of the gym.
I'm sorry, but I don't see where it says what side they're on.
North Line,
North Bank, South Bank, right here.
that has the telescoping feature model, whatever.
Yeah, because Bank A
North and south side,
has
I mean.
190 seats.
But they're on the east and west.
That's probably just something needs to be clarified.
Expectation is that they redo the whole thing.
How big is it? How big is the gym court, the regulation to get?
I think it's like 53.
Okay, because one bank is 74.3 feet on one side, the other one is 59.3 feet. So it's gonna be on both sides. So it's bank A and bank B, one on each side.
One side's longer than the other.
So there's one that's 59.3 feet, the other one's 74.3 inches.
Right.
So it's 2 banks.
So the motion has to clarify that it's redoing I think it was just for the record,
For
just,
the record, it's existing seating arrangement.
yes, and length of the bleacher.
Right. It's not bad, we'll bring it back. And we want to report, it's not bad.
We'll clarify for that, with that condition, and then again, if it's not, we won't take it to the governing board on Tuesday if that's not understood in the proposal.
The quote given to Mr. Gomez reads, 2 banks on one each side of the gym. So, but it is, and then the one that Mr. Hubbard received, says north and south side of me, which was way back in 15. The product information.
That's an old bid.
Yeah, that's an old bid.
Yeah, for-
So but the thing is how they describe what area.
Yes, else we're refurbishing the existing.
So just stating the location of the bleachers.
From what I understand, it's replacing where they are now.
I'll make a motion to recommend that the bond advisory committee approve to recommend that the governing board of the purchase of bleachers for Sierra School from Northbound from Mojave for $47,5762, pending clarification.
Perfect.
Okay, I'll second.
Roll call.
Ms. Baca?
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez? Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Can I ask a question? That also includes when you get the wood, right?
Yes, sir. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Mr. Romero? Mr. Sprong?
Yes.
Ms. Tremaine? Mr. Verdugo?
Yes. Sierra 28 auditorium upgrades, Mr. Sims.
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo. Bob and governing board previously approved improvements to the auditorium at Sierra Middle School. The seating has been ordered, the colors have been selected, so that part of the project which was approved by Bob is underway. We've ordered the equipment. Cost of that equipment is $41,712.06 from Norcon. In order to complete the project, there's some items that need to be addressed, specifically the AV audiovisual area, to improve the stage area, put new equipment, at a cost of $5,879.14 from truck sale to Mojave. Lighting improvements to the actual auditorium itself, and also a new seating grid and seating tile to the facility. Total cost basically is, for those items are $17,000 for the lighting improvement, $5,879 for the AV equipment, and then $17,045 and 53 cents for seating grid and seating tile. Lastly is the issue of addressing the flooring, of new carpeting and polishing the concrete. Proposal we received from 3 vendors, the low bidder being Flooring Systems, at a cost of $12,633.92. And I apologize for this, but one last item that we had looked at was also the painting of the walls to finish up the facility. We were looking at getting proposals, and looking at those proposals, we have qualified maintenance department personnel that we could hire and authorize overtime on the weekends that they could do the job. Mr. Valencia has got a proposal to allow us to proceed with our maintenance crews to do that on the weekends. And I don't know, Mr. Valencia, you have the information regarding the cost of the materials and estimated cost of...
Yeah, for the paint and the materials, we received 3 quotes. One from PPG for $326. One from Home Depot for $290. And then one from Dunn Edwards, which that one was $1,051. So that's just material. Labor, it would be 4 guys on overtime working, with the summer working 4 10s, Monday through Thursday. We would come in Fridays and Saturdays. If they're working the 10-hour days, I would expect maybe 4 days,
2 weekends?
40-hour work week.
So what would the total price be then? Materials and,
It would roughly come out to about $1,900, including labor, our labor, and the materials through our bid.
The bid from Dunn Edwards is inclusive of labor, right?
They're all...
No, everything's just labor. I'm sorry, material.
Just material.
Yes, just material.
You're gonna go with Home Depot?
No, PPG is...
PPG,
The quality.
is a better quality
Yeah,
paint.
because it has polyurethane into it, man, that's good. And how much was it?
That one was $326.
So the recommendation would be to approve the $53,571.92 to these vendors as outlined, plus authorize to expend no more than $2,000 for our maintenance crew to address and repaint.
Yes.
Is that inclusive of the paint?
Including the paint.
no more than two.
Because he said, I think 1800 was legislative.
Building,
I think he said 1800. Yeah, so they did it.
but no more than $2,500. We'll bring back exact numbers.
Fernando, was there a color with that paint?
Then Edwards put burgundy and gray. And then the same with Home Depot and PPG. I'm sorry, Dunn Edwards.
Because what's specified and approved by the principal and Mr. Raymond was a gray paint.
Yeah, this was going with Mr. Bonillas and Mr. Gastelum were there while we did the walkthrough with the contractors.
So this is the Sierra, sorry, the auditorium.
No, I'm sorry, we got wrestling, we didn't get Sierra.
Okay, so this is for the weight room? Okay.
Yeah, because as I say, the flooring is charcoal, right? Charcoal tile.
Yeah.
Yeah, my apologies, I thought you were talking about.
So my fault. But I think that the recommendation is, your proposal you got was $3,700 that you received?
Well, right now, we're on Sierra Auditorium upgrade.
Right.
And the
you
proposal for
received-
there, we have two painting companies on contract, and De Leon Painting came through and they gave us a bid for $5,124 to paint the entire Sierra Auditorium, including the doors, the existing doors. And that would be a specified graphite colored gray that the principal and Mr. Raymond selected, that goes with the new flooring and the new seating, and the new seating stands and so forth.
Do we have any proposal from our maintenance staff for that?
I can assure the committee that if our staff did it, it'd be done at no more than $3,000. For the colors that they're selecting, and for the paint that you're specifying.
It'd be nice to keep it in-house and give it to our guys. Give them some overtime.
Yeah. Our recommendation would be not to go with the external, and let's look internal on that.
Yeah. Did you have guys that be with us for this?
Yes, we have painters, and it's the same guys that they want to do it, they want to keep it in-house, like you said.
It would be the 53 plus whatever the painting is.
Plus no more than 3,000.
Yeah.
Questions, comments?
And I'll make the motion to approve the Sierra 28 auditorium upgrades as presented above for a total cost of $53,571.92, and also in-house painting not to exceed $3,000.
Full second?
Roll call.
Ms. Baca?
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez? Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Romero?
Yes.
Mr. Sprong?
Yes.
Ms. Tomane? Mr. Verdugo?
Yes. Desert View High School weight room upgrade.
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo. Again, this is another project that the committee had approved. The board has also approved in terms of getting equipment for that area, new flooring for that area, which leaves us with some small things that just really address, really complete this project and bring it to closure. A quote of $6,528.44 from one GPA contract that we have received for improved the lighting in the weight room, plus another $6,811 to install a new seating tile-graded tiles from Guardian, which is Lloyd Construction, via job contract. And then finally a proposal to have our in-house staff paint the weight room for an amount not to exceed $3,000. We do have an outside vendor proposal of $5,124. Again, our concern is that our folks can do the job just as well, if not better. The recommendation would be to go with in-house for a grand total of $16,339.44, which includes the $3,000 for in-house painting.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we approve the recommendations for the upgrades of DV's weight room, which includes the in-house painting. Oh, sorry, total of $16,339.44.
Second?
Roll call.
Ms. Baca?
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Lopez? Mr. Rodriguez? Ms. Romero?
Yes.
Mr. Sproul?
Yes.
Mr. Maine? Mr. Verdugo?
Yes. Sunnyside Teenage Parent Program Expansion and Upgrades, architect engineer proposal, Mr. Virginia.
Yeah, Mr. Verdugo, just I want to introduce Dr. Favela, if she can conduct a presentation with Monica Luna, who's our TAP coordinator, specifically in reference to why the request is being made here first, specifically for additional room in the program. And then the caveat here is we still have to vet this with our governing board, but you know, a lot of it's contingent about space and remodeling as well, and so we figured timing-wise, it made sense just to come here, present some of the issues, because there's a cost associated with that, notwithstanding the fact that the governing board has not approved the expansion as well. So there's, I just want to put that caveat as Dr. Favela and Ms. Luna present, so that you're aware. The request here is not specifically to the use of bond funds to renovate the classroom.
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo, members of the BOC, and Superintendent Holmes. Thank you for the opportunity, and I know it's a little off timing, but we wanted to make sure that we brought you some information about the TAP program, the Teenage Pregnant and Parenting Program. And what we have, I have Monica Luna, she is the person in charge of the TAP program. And just the TAP program, just to give you a little background, has been at Sunnyside High School. It was established in 1986. Before that, any students that became pregnant or who were parenting had to stay home. And so we have had that program in existence where there have been some successes with the students able to continue taking classes and still be able to either have their child or to keep the child in the nursery there. So Monica's done a wonderful job, and she's going to present what the expansion is. We have some photographs for you so you can see how the expansion will look. It's not a major renovation. There's already a room next door to the infant center that lends itself very well to this expansion. So Monica, I'll advance for you, and you can talk a little bit about it.
Good evening, everyone. Like they said, my name is Monica Luna. My title just changed to specialist from the program specialist for the Teenage Parent Program for our Sunnyside School District here. I thank you so much for allowing me this time to talk to you. I'm so excited about the possibilities of this. So our proposal is to expand our infant center by adding a toddler room, and the classroom next door is the perfect space for that. It has access to a patio, it's got bathrooms in there, and a kitchen as well, so that makes that spot perfect for our purpose. And right now, our capacity is 10 infants. So the rationale behind this is we would like for the students to stay in school and graduate. So if we're able to take care of their children longer, then we increase that possibility. This year, I have 2 students in middle schools. So these girls are planning to come to Sunnyside next year, and they need the use of the infant center. So they'll be set as 9th graders first semester, but unfortunately, their children will turn 1 second semester of their 9th year. So unfortunately, once they're 1 and walking steady, I need to kick them out. So these are the girls that really need that toddler room for up to the age of 3 years old. The year's 86, and we're 1 to 3 in Tucson. Our first goal in our TAP program is prevention of pregnancy. Once a student becomes pregnant, however, our goal changes to we need to get that student graduated Our team consists of a specialist, that's myself. I teach a prenatal and parenting class. We have a case manager that takes care of making sure that the students are going to school, that their grades are up, and other resources that they may need. She's their advocate for those things. We have a secretary, a director in the infant center, and 2 assistants. If we got the toddler room, we would have to increase to 1 more assistant for that room. Interesting facts about us: we are licensed by the state. 2 years ago, we were 2 stars, and we went to 4 stars that year. I'm very proud of that. We also offer the unique opportunity for the non-TAP student to be exposed to the infants. It's a class, they're assistants, they have homework, they learn how to take care of the kids. And if there's space permitting, we do offer spots for employees that may have babies in the district. I would like to increase and extend that offer to the TAP students that graduate. If they have a small child within that age range, if they're going to go to college full-time the year right after graduation, I would like to extend the services of the infant center to that individual. That individual would pay for those services, but they would still have the opportunity to use the infant center. So this is what we look like now. And like I said, we have a capacity of just 10 infants. So the first half is the non-mobile side. This is where we have the little tiny babies. And up on the top there are the diaper changing areas, which there are no diaper changing areas like this in Tucson. They're custom made. The other side is for the mobile infants, the crawlers, and the ones that start to walk. So once they start walking and they're steady on their feet and become a liability to the others, then unfortunately I do have to kick them out. This is the sleeping area, and right here is the door jamb to the director's office, which is there. So we're proposing to make a hole in the wall so that we're able to get to both rooms. And this wall here would be a half wall with a counter here, so that the director, while she's working, she's facing the rooms. She could be facing the infant center, specifically the sleeping babies, or she could be facing the toddler, specifically the ones that are sleeping in that area. So this is the room next door, and it would be open here. This would be the continuation of the director's work area with the half wall. On this side, it would be closed with the half door because we'd have toddlers. On the other side, it would be open. This is the kitchen area, so things would have to be replaced. We would get rid of this, we would leave, so we would make it a more kitchen-looking area. This is the restroom, and the sinks where the kids would come out to wash their hands. So further to the other side, and we can take you to the next slide again. In this space, we would want to get rid of this wall and open it up so that that could be the diaper changing area, because we would have toddlers that would be potty trained and others that still needed to be changed.
So, and I just need to add that currently what this room is used for is there's a special education class in there. And I know those bathrooms, I'm not sure how they were ever built, but those, it would need a complete remodeling. And Monica's already worked with the principal and the teacher who's currently in that room, and they have another space where that other class would move to. Sir.
I just want to clarify, because I think that was a good point. Everyone's asking specifically about, why here first? Because I just want to address that. Part of the challenge is some of these need to take place regardless of their expansion or not. That's kind of the dilemma that we're in, because there are some facilities issues in that particular area that have that need addressing, notwithstanding the expansion.
Exactly.
That could be that we, when we're looking at this, it is going to be pending expansion, but there are some pieces here that would need to be addressed regardless.
Christian, on the bathrooms, wouldn't that be under the renovations on the bathrooms that are going throughout the district? Won't those be included as it's being a school building?
But, I don't know, so we'll have to make sure it's part of that.
They need to be, of course, to code. They would
Well, yeah,
need
that's
to-
what we're doing
for-
now
For
for
little
lots of
ones.
schools.
And so the bathrooms that are there now are absolutely not.
I understand that, but what I'm saying, because we have allocated money to redo all the bathrooms in the district to make them ADA or whatever needs you would meet, would that be part of that program?
Potentially,
It should be.
yes. It should be if it was kind of addressed in that, because of the,
Population.
because they're going to be doing all the schools in that, all the bathrooms in that building. Technically, it should, but I want to make sure it didn't get, there was an oversight.
Should be included.
Correct.
But you're looking at the population, is that what you're looking at servicing toddlers who aren't the regular school?
That's the technicality part of it
Yeah,
that we have to.
We have to go try to find out, but it's still a bathroom in the district that we allocated money for. That's my thought.
No,
Yeah. Either way, we're going to address it.
Right.
With it, but it should be some
Picture of the
improvement.
bathroom.
So did this ever exist at any other school?
Right now.
The program?
Yes.
No, it's been traditionally at Sunnyside High School. We have services at Desert View High School, but this program, and as it currently exists with services, is strictly at Sunnyside High
The
School.
case manager who works in the program does some outreach with Desert View as well as with STAR. And so I know Monica goes over there and has a class because there are students that are either pregnant or parenting at both high schools.
So,
Even
yes.
at STAR as well.
Thank you. So I oversee Desert View, Sunnyside, and Star, and any middle school that unfortunately has a student. We have 2 right now. So the ultimate place to be as a student would be Sunnyside because I teach the classes there, the infant center is there, the office is there. Unfortunately, Desert View at this time does not have prenatal parenting class, and Star either, less. But so we take turns, depending on the need for the year. I'll go to Star, the case manager goes to Desert View, we'll go to the middle schools, we even go to the homebound students. But the infant center itself is on Sunnyside campus. We could have a student going to Desert View or Star and have the baby there.
Yeah, don't we have a toddler area right now in Oakwood?
I believe so.
We do, and it's, you know, they also have tried to have it be a priority for some of the kids at TAP, but there's not the space really to have
There's
the
a
number.
waiting list
There's a
all the
waiting list.
time.
And they try to give spaces to leave spaces for the TAP students. But I believe we have, in both, if we take all 3 schools, the number of students that have children at this point.
Oh, geez.
I think there are total pregnant and parenting students in all 3 sites. We're looking at almost 30 students.
And we've got males in there as well.
So there's never been a consideration to move it like at Los Ranchitos? To give you even more square footage?
Well, but that kind of defeats the purpose of the convenience of having it right there. So the student brings their child with them to school.
For nursing
We have
mothers.
had that conversation in the past, we did, but
For nursing mothers, you mean?
yes.
So it's because the class and the nursery are adjacent. Monica's done a really good job of working with the students. And then also, there's an approved curriculum for the 3, we have 8th grade, 9th grade, and TAP, a specific curriculum that's more comprehensive sex ed curriculum. We went through the whole state statute and worked through and had the materials posted, because that way students, even if they are already have a child, that it helps them understand how to possibly prevent other pregnancies.
So it's more convenient for the students at Sunnyside then, in that case, than for Star and Desert View, because
Yes.
they have to travel either way.
Right.
So how many students do you have that are moms from Sunnyside?
From Sunnyside High School?
I think I have maybe 8 or 10, and again, there's a couple dads in there.
And then DB
DB is a smaller group, about 4 at this time.
and Star?
Star, like 10.
And then the two from the middle school, or one?
One from Apollo and one from Challenger? Yes.
So you're right, Mr. Shore, we had talked about, we tossed around the idea of Los Ranchitos at one point, but it just, you know, they want to be able to be right there. And also to open that as an elective for non-TAP students that can also take courses in child development.
And if I had a toddler room, I would be able to increase also the number of non-TAP students that are interested in early child development for a period.
And will you be able to do that under this expansion?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
This is the outside area. I'm sorry?
How's it funded?
Well, we have, most of our staff is paid through the district. We do fund one position out of the TAP fund. We have paying customers. So if they're either paying, it's $27 a day. So teachers pay that. Students, the first thing we do is see if they qualify for DES. So our case manager gets them applied. If they don't qualify, if there's a waiting list, every year we get a number of scholarships from Quality First. So then they're offered a scholarship. If they don't qualify for that, they're a paying customer and I charge them $3 a day.
So you say there's a waiting list. How many students would you say are out there in this situation? Just off the top of
We
your
were
head.
talking about a waiting list at
At Ocotillo. These are toddlers in general, just.
I thought maybe parents, like.
No, well. I
Sounds like we have a crisis.
Pima County does have a high rate of pregnancy. And that's one of the reasons why Child and Family Resources, we had this grant that we're partnering with them with to really try to expand that comprehensive, more of a sex education. The state, the only approved curriculum from the state is an abstinence only. And the curriculum that was approved, and we were using it a little bit with a Pima Prevention Partnership who would come, it was not, it didn't talk at all about prevention. It was strictly abstinence and had kind of an undertone of shaming. And, you know, so this one that we're trying to do, we have an 8th and 9th and TAP, but we really want to expand that district-wide so that, I mean, you don't start talking about sex in kindergarten. You start talking about boundaries and respect and you know, those things. And as the kids get older, we can't just do the things that we used to do in the old days where the nurses were able to come in and talk about puberty and human reproduction and all that. Because of the statute, the laws have changed. Now, every single time we're going to offer any kind of sex education, it has to be approved by the state. We have to follow all the regulations and we have to make sure that every parent opts in. So even with the TAP students, the parents have to say, okay. If we don't have that form that says yes, okay, they can get the curriculum, that student during the lessons has to go somewhere else. And we have to be very careful that other students whose parents have not opted in don't do that. So right now we only have those 3 grade levels. Anywhere else, we can't offer anything, not even that human reproduction nurse talk. Until we have an approved curriculum. So we're starting up a committee. We're meeting for the first time tomorrow, and we'll be moving on trying to expand the curriculum to all grades.
Okay.
So you want to talk a little more about the,
So
we have to wrap up here.
in the patio, we would need to remove those items. They're not age appropriate. And in the sand area, it would need to be soft ground. And then the dirt areas here, it would be artificial grass, and there would be a gate here dividing this section with the other section.
So that's the expanded, that blue door that you're looking at would be the expanded classroom, right?
No, actually, the door's over here.
Oh, it's this one. You're looking at the other wing. Okay.
And so there would be that gate over there, the barn, and this gate here. And, yeah. And that's it.
Excuse me, the expansion you're talking about, is that into what used to be the children area?
Yes, that's exactly the place.
which is now a special ed.
Yeah, and that was unfortunate. So, this is what happens when you turn 10 months old and you start climbing, you get kicked out. So we had to kick poor Ivan out because he was walking at 10 months old.
We did that for emotional effect here. Have the picture of Ivan in your heart.
Ivan's jogging now.
I wanted to point out an error on the proposal first page. We take infants 2 weeks instead of 2 months.
So, Mr. Encinas, if I'm not mistaken, what you wrote in on the cover sheet is that it would be, we would need to have an architect actually come in and look at it to see what it entails in terms of.
The recommendation that, as I understood it, would be that if Bond Committee would recommend that if the board approves expansion of the program, that they would authorize that the architect be obtained to design the improvements, which we estimate will be about $8,500, and that a construction budget of $100,000 be allocated to make the actual improvements.
Correct.
But so in essence, we're not putting the cart before the horse, but again, we can't go to the board for approval to expand. If we say we'll need $100,000 from Bach, well, they'll say, well, is Bach approved $100,000? Well, no, because you haven't approved the expansion. So I think we're trying to do here is if the board approves.
I think what we're also trying to not force the Bach to make a financial decision because basically the board says, you know what, we're gonna expand, we're gonna approve this, then you guys are gonna say, well, you just telling us to. So it was kind of a chicken and egg discussion, so I figured, let's go here first minimally, at least giving you guys a courtesy, we're gonna have this discussion, so you know there's a potential expense if that's.
Yeah, because I was like, okay, the leadership team said to bring it to us, and then I'm reading down here because it hasn't gone to the board.
Well, that way you have it in the concept of what it looks like, you have photos that you understand what we're actually.
So like you said, take it here before there.
Because then it bypasses you guys completely, quite frankly.
I still think that we're doing things backwards here. I think that if you bring this before the board first, that there is a possibility of an expansion of the TAP program and have a discussion on it, a public discussion, you'll have a lot of people here with an override looming, possibility of an override not passing again, layoffs, budget tightening, and then we're approving something that didn't have public comment on. You put this on the agenda for the board meeting, and I bet you'll get the public over here saying, wait a minute, we're going to spend money, $108,500 for the expansion of the TAP program and you want an override that's going to affect hundreds and hundreds of students district-wide, and you're carrying to me, I think we're sending the wrong message about us being in a position to approve something for the TAP program, which doesn't have nothing to do with the overall, in my opinion, success of the district and the students that we serve. I think the board should have a public discussion on this. The public should say, yes, it's something warranted. Then they said, okay, take it to the BOC, here's some money. But I disagree totally with the way we're being put in this position to make a decision on something with the override that you're going to want us to pass. And I'm a taxpayer, and I'm pushing for the override because I think we need it, but not if something like this doesn't have any public opinion.
So were you guys going to go after full work? Oh, I'm sorry.
I disagree with that. I find that supporting these students, these now families, the young men and the young women in these programs is vital. And yeah, absolutely, there should be public discussion to the board, absolutely, and transparency and all those wonderful things. But not supporting it to me is not supporting the young women and families in our district in a very needed service.
I agree with you, because even TUSD reached out, just like Sunnyside did, to our dropouts, to try to bring them back into the school district.
Mm-hmm.
to have them complete school. And like she said, like Ms. Favela said, you feel like you're living a life for shame, just because you had a child.
And we have how many on track to graduate?
A whole bunch.
Yeah, lots of.
7.
So it's the main purpose of this program is to keep students in school and to help them graduate, even if they have a child or are pregnant, that they could still graduate and go on to college and do what they need to do. So I certainly understand your comments, point well taken.
If the board or the community says it's something that needs to happen, it's a need because nobody else provides these services, I'm all for it.
Do it
But I don't
first.
think that we've had the public discussion to warrant us being at this stage to try to make a decision for the whole district.
Fair.
Like, are you saying that the public isn't aware of this
I
program?
am saying that they are not.
They are not? How long has this been?
No, we're not
this
talking
project?
about the expansion. from-
Oh, the expansion.
Yeah, the expansion of going to a toddler. So now you're keeping, okay, I'm a freshman, wow, hey, you know what, if I get pregnant, now I don't have to worry about just having for 1 year. My baby will be here for 3 more years with me. Or if I have another one,
That would be a good thing, I would.
well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. So where's the discouragement part, where's the abstinent part coming into play about? Instead of making it more convenient to keep having kids because we know they're going to be here for 4 years.
Well, that's aligned with the classes that they're going to have.
That's where the curriculum
That's where the
comes in as well.
The thing is, though, we are the public. I mean, they didn't vote us in, but nobody else wanted to do it, so now we, as the public, have the right to make the decision for everybody else who did not want to come here, donate their time and everything, so I think we should be the ones to make up the decision.
I think, Mr. Hernandez, the point I'm trying to make is that I don't think...
No, I understand. What you're saying is you're just propagating the thing that women are just going to keep on having babies.
No, I'm not saying that at all, Mr. Hernandez. What I'm saying is I don't believe the rest of the district knows that there is a move to expand our CAP program from only 1 year or till they're walking to now toddler age.
But it just goes to show you, they don't care. They don't want to get into the subject of having to choose between their daughters or their sons getting into this type of a program. So then somebody has to do it. They don't want to do it, hey, you get what you get.
I wouldn't think it's any different than if we're renovating restrooms and all of a sudden we had unisex restrooms in some of these schools. And parents would say, how did this come about? Well, I mean, it's the law to one extent, but two, I mean, we need to accommodate these people too.
Yeah.
You can't just throw them out on the street.
Nobody's saying throwing them out, but we have something in place right now, but now we're expanding it, Mr. Sproul, and I don't believe that the public knows that there's an expansion in place.
Well, maybe what you need to do were you going to hire for full working drawings or just a concept with some renderings?
Usually is with the intent to construct. So it would be certainly
I mean, because we've gone out with other projects where, like Core gives you an estimate based on concepts.
That was basically it. Same process.
Okay.
What is the estimated cost of all this?
About 100,000.
About 100,000? It doesn't seem like very much. If you're going to be helping that many people in whatever endeavor they have, whether they want to be college students or they don't want to be college students, $100,000 doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal to help the community itself.
Could I just say one thing? I'm sorry. I observe my students that are parenting, and yes, we help them by having the infant center, but they struggle. And their friends, their girlfriends, they see those struggles. And even though the baby looks cute today, they start realizing when they start telling them I was up all night, So I was a TAP student. I had 3 kids by the time I was 18. So I know that the TAP program was the best thing that happened to me.
And up until this year, we did not have anything else other than an abstinence program. This is the first year we've been able to implement this new curriculum. So the abstinence approach in and of itself hasn't necessarily diminish the number of pregnant students over the years, because FEMA County in general is very high in comparison to the population. So certainly not promoting pregnancy.
And aside from that, we do Baby Think It Over. We had panels in the past. We are looking to order an empathy belly. So we're doing other things, but we're restricted as far as what we can talk to the students about that outside of the curriculum.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a good spirited discussion because I think it's always a topic, but, you know, just having worked with Mr. Rodriguez, I'll just comment, I think part of the pushback that I know we're getting community-wise is, and I think that's where you're going with it, is how much we continue to invest per child on certain programs, and I agree, I mean, these are all worthwhile efforts. I think at the end of the day, there's a cost per child thing that we always have to kind of keep an eye on, particularly if we're going to ask the voters for more funds, that we're certainly being cognizant of as we grow programs, can we sustain them long period of time? And are we investing certainly in the right things, but is it something that we're going to have to close down a year from now because we're going to get cut in another area and then we just spent $100,000? I think those are all factors, quite frankly, they play in my mind. It speaks to your point of investing in these. So I'm in no way suggesting that this is not something we want to do. It's more being the realist in knowing the current budget situation, landscape in the state of Arizona, knowing full well that we've got so many trade-offs that we're making over time with programs that we appreciate and we want to value and sustain. But then 2 years down the road, there's the potential of more cuts that end up, you know, cutting back from the programs that we know we value. So I think in the spirit of this whole conversation, it's certainly making sure you're aware that we're having discussions that could be a bond cost, quite frankly, and then more importantly, not doing what Mr. Hernandez, I mean, last time you guys are making decisions, you got to know we're coming back here. So it certainly is a dilemma. I'm glad we're having it here though, because I think there is some public viewing of programmatically how we're thinking about it. It certainly will have to go back to the governing board, so we don't have to necessarily approve, but at least if this is for purpose of discussion, what I would appreciate, at least not necessarily action on it, because if we get approval, then you're not coming with a surprise back to us. And I think that's fair to your point always of give us a heads up that you're going to go explore this. This is kind of the heads up. You know, we're looking at this. There's a cost associated. We're going to have to run the numbers with the governing board of sustainability. So once that's done, at least you guys in comfort as a community can say, you guys are looking at this from a sustainability model, so we're not going to spend $100,000 on a renovation that later we end up closing. So I want to kind of put that into perspective and context as we're looking at the big why it's here.
The other thing we have to remember too is that their parents are taxpayers. Correct. Just like the people that play golf, which we just gave 100 or whatever to make a court, their parents pay taxes. These young people will be paying taxes too. So it's not something where you're saying, I'm giving them something. You're not giving them anything. This is theirs.
I wanted to say, not to put this back on the district, but I would hope that anything that comes to us as the BOC, that you have all looked at it from a sustainability standpoint.
That's correct.
Not to bring it to us and then say, well, we might not have this program 2 years from now. I would hope that you have already vetted that.
We haven't.
That's why it's coming to us.
The point of the conversation is because the override is doable. There's no doubt we need it. And to see something like this be in the position, if the override fails, that we spend this money in this spot. Because I agree 100%. We need to have this information already at their discussion stage and saying, here's the proposal because we know what they're doing.
Yeah, because now I feel they came to us and you're not sure about it.
Yeah, we're not.
That's the way I'm.
Sure. That's fair.
So it should be tabled till you take it to
That's
the
fine.
governing board and see what they have to say.
That's fine.
If they all vote.
So by even expanding this, how many people would this affect? Like how many toddlers and students and even like teachers who have young children?
So it would increase our capacity to 18, so we would be able to accommodate 8 toddlers. and that has to do with caretaker-child ratio. So the first priority would be the TAP students, then we would open it up to district employees as space permits. And like I said, I would like to extend the offer 1 year after graduation. Yes.
Being that you offer it to district employees, cool. If the district could afford a daycare for all employees. But the thing is, then the priority should go to the students.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's only on the space bill.
If, like the toddler program at Ocotillo, and right now it's not feasible for you guys to have it there, and Ocotillo has a waiting list, couldn't your students have priority with their toddlers to be housed at Ocotillo, and then whatever waiting list can trickle in after that until this whole thing gets settled?
Yes, and we have worked on, my case manager has talked with them, and we have talked about bridging and getting first priority. Yes.
So because it could be a student that can be that her child is now a toddler.
Right.
And just, by Ocotillo then. Because, they're the ones that are off. It seems more it's Sunnyside for us. And even though it's for everybody, but because of the distance of DV and Star, it's centrally located for the Sunnyside gals.
Well, we thank you for your time and attention and lively discussion, so I appreciate that. Okay, thank you, Monica.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I assume at this point, we're going to table this and let the governing board decide.
Sure.
I'll make the motion to table it till all this information is brought to the governing board and the decision made as to which way they also want to go, and if it's going to be feasible for the future.
Second. Roll call.
Ms. Baca?
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yeah.
Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Romero?
Yes.
Mr. Sproul?
Yes.
Ms. Tomei? Mr. Verdugo?
Yes. Ocotillo Learning Center playground equipment, Mr. Encina. Oh, good Lord, I'm sorry. Santa Clara Elementary architect engineer proposal, Mr. Encina.
Mr. Holmes for presentation.
Sure. This is, so Santa Clara, as you remember, was built as an open concept. What's become clear, I mean, they've done some makeshift over time, but the problem is there's still a lot of room noise between rooms. And as we're getting tighter in our staffing, in other words, we're shrinking in enrollment, but we're making sure our staffing ratios are kept, we're noticing a lot of noise in the classrooms where they have larger classrooms. It's been a concern that's been brought up a number of years. I figure, this is something that if we're going to start making some of these changes, let's explore what it will take to kind of make that ceiling go to the top, because right now there's the way it's structured, the walls go up and there's like about 3 feet, right? Like across the room, so you can hear what's going on. And so we wanted to explore the potential of closing those off so that there's actually alleviates the noise between rooms, which can be very distracting. And at this point, we are only asking for the architecture, but it's based upon a projected price, quite frankly, of, should I pull it up? I apologize. $350 for the remodel, because then they got to relocate the AC units and all that vent. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. That's why we're looking at the potential cost of this. But I want to give the context. I more recently have met with staff there at Santa Clara, and has been an ongoing concern from staff there. And so doing due diligence said, let's explore what the cost was. They're fully aware that this could be very pricey, but feel that it's necessary to at least explore, and if we can't fund it all, they'd be more than willing to look at other ways of funding the project as well.
How many classrooms?
I think there's like a wing in that whole area. I want to say, you went over there? Do you remember how many you saw?
No, I don't remember the number of classrooms.
Oh, 16. There's pods, pods. There's the kindergarten wing with the regular classrooms. And I'd say 18 classrooms.
Yeah, I think it's about that. I think there's like 6, I think they're pods of like, I want to say 6. That sounds about right. I think it's about, yeah, I think that sounds about right.
So if you were to do this, when did you envision doing this?
It's been like that since 1974.
Because I don't see any costs in here about displacing the classes into portables or any of that.
It would be something that we would have to do over the course of time. In other words, it would be partially maybe one wing in the summer, one wing during a winter break. It'd be over the course of time because we don't want to make that big an investment on a school that's been sitting there like that for that year, to do a whole displacement of it. I'd rather, if we go down that road and we approve it, let's do it. I think the school would be very pleased to know that it's in the queue and that it's happening over time, which I think really it's all they're looking for. It's been a concern of theirs for a number of years, and I think that they would be very patient in knowing if it had to be a 2 to 3 year project, that at least it's getting done over time.
And it reads on here for also the seating, whatever design of improvements to the front office and entrance of the school. Does that include the security entrance? Didn't we vote on some of the schools to have that security entrance done? Yes.
Yes, but on Santa Clara, they're just getting a buzz-in of their existing doors, because it's a window where they can see the entry doors. They're just getting a buzzer with an electronic lock for one of those doors. So there is no other expense at this time for their security improvements. But this design would include that, and also include a design remodeling for their admin area, because they need security there. The kids, even while I was there talking with Mr. Badilla, the kids, he says, I have a problem with kids coming in, and just after he said that, a couple of kids came in and start talking to the secretaries and so forth. So they really need the design improvement. And it's one of the tightest, I think it's the tightest admin space, the most limited that I've seen in any of the schools.
So, because going in, I'm trying to remember, going into the building, you have like a big foyer opening there. Okay, so how are you proposing the security part entrance? Are you putting in?
Well, where their counter is, maybe some new cabinets that are higher, that have a door, like a half door that the kids, they can lock, that the kids can't just run through. Having some security gates right there where that, if I'm behind the counter and here's that area you're talking about, and there's 2 hallways, one that goes this way, one that goes this way, having a security gates right there that would keep people from going further into the classroom part of the building. Because if in that hallway where the main entry doors are over here, that it connects to the cafeteria right over here. So there's some issues with letting people in, and they can, with those doors that are existing, and then they can go to the cafeteria, or they can go down the hallway. So their main concern with Mr. Badilla right now was the classrooms, the security of the classrooms. So there would be some security fence, gates like we're putting in other schools right there, and he wanted the architects to include that in all the other improvements they're doing, which is mainly the classrooms.
So are you going to remove those existing accordion gates that they have there? They have those accordion, remember we were
Those are the wall that
that slide into the walls. Are those going to be removed, or?
I'm not sure. We need a recommendation on that, but every time I've been there, they don't use them.
I'm just asking if they're going to be removed, because we've been, what is it? We're messing with one and.
Finally got it open.
Yeah. So I was just wondering if those were going to be removed.
They can be, because they're not needed.
Yeah.
And they're not used. And also, we were hoping in this budget that there would be $350, that it would include new flooring in the cafeteria area. If you look, the tiles are broken, they're chipped, it's in definite need of repair. The bathrooms are already on schedule to be remodeled. That's part of that bathroom remodeling project with Midstate. So that's not a problem. But there's a lot of needs in Santa Clara. If you walk through, they're pretty obvious.
Especially the bathrooms in multi-purpose.
Also, the playground bathroom that faces west is, there's no ADA access to that. There's dirt that slopes down and has nothing to do with ADA. It's, I can imagine when it rains, it's probably muddy and slippery. And so they have some chain link on that to lock it up, that little flare outside, and so that's something that's pretty ugly and unsafe looking that would need to be improved also. It's on the west side of the building, access to the exterior bathrooms. The bathrooms themselves are included in the remodeling, but if we make that ADA, well then we would have, we could have new doors on there and so forth. The new doors for bathrooms was not included in the original bathroom improvements.
Just the fixtures?
All the fixtures, the ADA bars in them and the ADA partitions, wherever you can fit them. There's some places that are so restrictive, it's difficult. You really can't get the 5-foot radius required in an ADA stall. But where we can get it, it is included. With all the fixtures, with all the floor tile, the coat tile, and the painting, and new faucets, new urinals, new toilets, new partitions. But wherever there's a need for new doors, like in Santa Clara with the exterior bathrooms, that could be included in this remodeling figure, as well as whatever improvement they need for a ramp or a sloping sidewalk that goes to the 1 per 12-foot slope that's required, the rise and run that's required with ADA.
I have a question. I want to regress a little bit here to what you're talking about, the bathrooms. I really don't remember the proposal that we agreed to. I don't remember seeing on the bid sheet itself if we're going to be using low-flow toilets or just the regular toilets.
You mean for the
remodels?
The remodels?
For the remodels.
For low flow.
Because we were saying, well, in a day, at least 10 to 15,000 gallons a day, I would say, just an estimate, on water, if we were to go to the low flow rather than the other type that they're using now.
Correct.
So do we know?
Yeah, they're low flow.
They're all low flow. The urinals are, the toilets are, and the faucets are.
They were qualified for the rebates because of the low flow from sound water.
And that bid includes, in most cases, new sinks also. There's some bathrooms that have that triple sink that are functioning fine, and so that's not needed to be replaced, but in most of the bathrooms, it includes also new sinks.
Okay. Well, I was just asking because I didn't remember whether they were low flow or not. Right now it hit me when you were talking about the bathrooms again.
Fine.
All right, thank you.
So this proposal doesn't talk anything about phasing any construction, so.
No, that hasn't
And so
been
if you're going to
discussed.
phase it, you're going to have additional costs for additional permits multiple times and all that.
Unless some of the work can be done in the evenings, just like Mid-State's doing now with replacing all the lamps. And of course, they would replace all the lamps in Santa Clara either way. And that work has all been done in the evenings from 4 p.m. till 2 a.m. And then you're giving a report every day as they finish on what's been completed. So we could do something like that, maybe do the major work of the demo and enclosing the walls on during Christmas break, for example, and then continue doing the improvements for HVAC and adjusting the sprinkler system and the lighting in the evenings.
And Mr. Sproul, just as the school is under-enrolled as well right now. So there are ways in which we could shift some folks in class. It'd be an inconvenience, but that could be another way of looking at it over a period of time where we just move people and displace them within the school, so that I'm really reluctant to have a displacement cost in this project right now, just because I feel like we can figure it out, even though at the end of the day it may require more permits, but because it's under-enrolled, I think we have a little bit more of flexibility of movement.
Yeah, I just feel bad for this school because they've been stressed to the max since it was built.
I agree.
Now we're going to do this to them in a phasing project.
But it would be a happy stress.
Yes,
I mean,
it would, yeah.
my guess is all the teachers, and Mr. Badia would say, let's do it.
We'll be stressed, but we thank you for at least considering, that's at least what I've gotten back as well.
Okay.
But they are constantly being reminded of the age of the school and the problems. For example, yesterday evening, a water line broke from the meter from the street that goes to the school. It broke under the parking lot. And so this morning they came to school and there was porta-johns and some plumbing work until I think it was 10 or 11 a.m. And then they had water, you know, in the bathrooms again and so forth. But they still had to patch the paving in the driveway. So the school really needs attention. And I think if you walk around it and outside and you walk through the hallways, it's very clear that school deserves some of the block remodeling improvement.
We need to redo it.
Yeah.
I just had the items you talked about, like you're hoping you can include the flooring and all that in that price. Can you kind of word that in if possible? We want the flooring and the other additions you talked about in the entrance
Yes.
to be a little bit more specific.
I think the request tonight is to get box approval to proceed with obtaining an architect at a cost of not to exceed $28,300. $500?
28.
Okay, 28,000. And based on $28,000, then the construction budget would be $350,000.
But shouldn't they know that we're also wanting to talk about flooring and whatever you want?
Well, the request is, we'll get the architect to design it
Yeah.
with the 350. Now, what's designed in the 350, we'll tell them, hey, do you want that
Yeah, I want
addressed?
that included.
But it'll be brought back to Bach before it's bid out.
I just want to make sure in this architectural bid, because they're going to say, well, you can tell us to do this, so we're going to charge you this much
Gotcha.
more. Because I don't understand all that stuff, but I know when they want to take another penny out of it.
They'll just design to your budget. So they'll cut whatever they don't need, so.
So we want to put it in there.
So-
Just to be sure.
We were meeting this morning at Desert View for the Fine Arts project with the same architecture firm and EMC Squared, and they do keep up to date on cost. They have the latest means construction cost 2017, and so I asked them to forward me a cost for the remodeling square footage on average and the new building square footage as far as average cost for budgeting purposes, so they're going to do that. So we would be able to, on the Desert View Fine Arts addition and remodeling, as well as Santa Clara, do a line item rough estimate with the architect. There's certain things that we know how much the flooring's going to cost, whether it's polished concrete or carpeting. So there's certain things that we can fill out based on the square footage pretty easily, as well as partition walls and bathrooms. The structurals, you know, some of the issues in the AC are some of the question marks. But the architect's responsibility with his engineering consultants is to design to the budget. If it was to come in over bid, for example, they're responsible to find the place where we can reduce costs.
Do I have a motion? I recommend that the Bond Advisory Committee approve recommending to the Governing Board to issue a contract for architectural and engineering services for Santa Clara Elementary School improvements to EMC 2 in the amount of $28,000 for the design of improvements not to exceed $350,000 project budget.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Baca?
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez? Ms. Romero? Mr. Sproul?
Yes.
Ms. Tomei? Mr. Verdugo?
Yes. Ocotillo Learning Center playground equipment, Mr. Simmons.
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo, board members. I'll turn this over to Mr. Carlos Valencia, who's been I just changed his name.
You just merged the two.
It's a V.
It's a V.
It's a V.
So, Freudian slip again. Mr. Valdez, who's been coordinating the playground equipment replacement at all of our schools, along with Assistant Mr. Gomez, but we're bringing to you tonight Ocotillo Early Learning Center's proposal to replace their existing playground equipment. Mr. Valdez?
Good evening, members of the body, Mr. Verdugo, Superintendent, all members of the body. What I'm going to come to you tonight is to give a presentation. I'm sorry I don't have as good as well as detailed drawings as we have for the other committee or the other playground equipment at the other sites. We've been working with Mr. Holm at Ocotillo, and he doesn't want a structure as big and as detailed as the other sites because of the age groups which he serves. But what he does want to do is take the current existing playground that's on the north side of the school, along right outside the office entrance there, and he wants to modify those with smaller modular playground structures that are smaller. They don't have the detailed drawings. But what we do have here is I'd like to go through and walk it step by step so that you have an understanding of what he wants to do. And then we can go through and talk about the kinds of structures that he wants to put in there. So with this first drawing, what you see is an aerial view of the school and the area that he wants to modify. So if you look at it, we can start off on what is your right, and this is the area where the playground where it has the rubberized flooring, just as you exit the office area. So this is the first playground area, because essentially what Mr. Olin wants to do is create 3 different playground areas because of the different age groups that he has in the school. So in the first playground area, there's going to be a requirement of some repairs to the rubberized flooring that's already there. So he wants to repair some of those rubberized flooring, and then the playground structure that you see where the red X is, there's a portion in there that has to be removed. And that playground structure, that portion of that is not conducive to his age group that's going to be playing in there. So he wants to repair those and then remove one of the playground structures. And then you have the other structures around it that says no change in those areas. Then you have the orange area, and that is another area where he wants to create another playground structure for the smaller children, where they can be supervised and they have more age equivalent or age appropriate items in that area where they could be. And then there'd be a fenced off area between that and the yellow, which says wood fiber areas. So that would essentially create 3 different playgrounds, which would all be age appropriate for his population here at the school. Here is the second picture, another aerial, which details what he wants to do in those areas. And what this shows is where it says trike path. That is actually, if you go to your first drawing, that's the area where it says ADD wood fiber. What he wants to do is remove one of the playground structures that are there, remove the sand out of there, and then he's going to put some modular, smaller play structures that are age appropriate for his age group in that area. So they'll have wood fiber around it. He wants to put a track, because one of his problems is the smaller or the larger kids, which would be in this area, ride their little big wheels, and they start running into people as they're there on the current sidewalk that's there. So he wants to put a small riding track where these kids could ride their big wheels and their tricycles in that area. Then in the area next to it, we would remove the swing set that's there, the other X. We would then go across, going east. We would add another trike path on the back there and install a couple play pieces that are all age appropriate for his age groups that are there. And next one is a picture of the modular units which he would like to place specifically in the area where it's marked wood chip area. So these would be in the middle and surrounded by a bike path, which would go in there. So we don't have specific drawings as detailed architectural drawings as we did before, but this is why, because each of these don't require as the bigger footings, they don't require the extruded curbings, and this will all be there to be surrounded by a bike path, which the students can ride their bikes and stuff around it. And we would still have the sandbox area for the smaller students, which would all be, we wouldn't have sand in it, it would all be the wood fiber. The only areas that we would not touch the flooring would be the areas where we would make the repairs to the rubberized flooring that's already there.
How much of it is shaded? Will there be its own shade?
Right, we don't have a shade structure over there. We do have large trees that shade a portion of the majority of the area.
Like this new 6 to 23 month play area?
Right, so the new area, as you can see, you have the trees that come over and shade a large portion of that. That's these areas here. And then in the, you don't see it, you can barely see it here, but in the wood fiber area, you have the two major trees that hang on here.
Oh, okay.
So it provides quite a bit of shade in the area. And then if you look over on the east side of the playground area, you have trees and you do have a shade structure there for one of the play structures that are there already.
So the X's on the shade structure, is that going to be removed?
No, that's one of the play structures underneath it that would be removed, yes.
The logos.
And the one over here on the west, that is also a shade structure?
That's correct. It is shaded, but there's a swing that's there that's not age appropriate, and you would have to have that removed.
But the shade staying?
That's correct, yes. What I do want to make sure that the public understands is we've discussed this, and I'm waiting to get a quote, and that's the one thing that we're going to put a fence line across the entire portion where the wood chips and the modular play area is, the larger play area. We are going to put a fence line all the way around there to keep the children contained into those areas so that they don't come out onto the playground, onto the sidewalk area, I'm sorry.
No, that's not in this bid.
Pardon me? That's correct. It's not in this bid because as we go through, we're going to look at it and then place gates. And he doesn't know if he wants one gate, a large double gate, or smaller single gates around it. So, but we can, in answer to that question, we feel that by having our crew, our maintenance crew, go in and do some of the removals, that we will be able to save some of the cost off the bid, which we can then add towards the gate, and we will still come out below what the quote is.
On the 6 to 23 month, this orangish area there's no shade for them, or?
That's correct. We haven't had, well, you still have the trees in the area.
Yeah.
As you look at it, you still have some shade coming over it. But we have not.
Because I'm just looking how you have it designated here for the 6 to 23 months.
Correct, and that's this area right here. Right in the middle of, if you look on your ticket. Right
Okay,
here.
right in there. So this is what the proposal.
That's correct, yes.
So, okay, now here you see the tree here, you don't. Or you're removing.
You've got a designated ADA route for all the equipment?
Yes, well, because they're gonna, all the flooring in the playgrounds will all gonna be the wood chip area, except the current area that is with the rubberized flooring. So the two flooring surfaces that will be in the entire area are all gonna be ADA compliant, and then it's all surrounded by a concrete sidewalk. So from EDA students will have access through all of the playgrounds.
So the obvious is compacted to that east side and north side there.
That's correct, yes.
Where the parking lot, I guess, would you say enter begins to go west?
Yeah, where it
Yeah.
begins to go west.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's in that one area that's right between the
Yeah,
two
just like
parking lots.
Blue House.
Right, correct. That's that area right between the two parking lots, just as you exit the office area.
And the trike path, is it within?
It's within that large wood chip area that's on your
Okay.
diagram. It's in that yellow area. It'll be, the trike path will be within this
here.
yellow area, yes.
Okay, you see, I see trike path and I see the arrow and I'm thinking sidewalk out there. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it'll all be contained within this yellow area.
Okay, and then that's where the fencing that you want to separate,
Will be right along that yellow area.
Right in
And you
here?
see the black area right
Right.
below, that's the sidewalk area that leads into the offices.
Yeah.
So we'll put a fence line right between the yellow area and the black.
okay.
Any other questions, comments?
And so fencing, what is it like a chain link?
Yes, well, yeah, what he's looking at is he's looking at chain link fencing. And so in the cost, we're going to get a bid for it, but that'll be a separate item. But we feel that if the bond approves the total cost we present tonight, that we will be able to save money from there by doing some of the removal of the structures by ourselves instead of contracting it out, and we can just take some of that off of there.
And there's no way you can recycle any of that playground equipment?
We can. The issue becomes, the companies don't want to do it because they've done it, and you have to chisel off all of the
Okay.
concrete that's on the bottom of those posts, and it just is very labor intensive. I wish we could just like soak it in water and just fall off.
That'd be cool. Move it to another
Or
side
make a
that's
bigger
needed.
hole for it.
Yes.
We have a motion.
I'll make the motion that we approve to recommend to the governing board to purchase these equipment from Play It Safe Playgrounds in the amount not to exceed $65,822.41. In addition, should it be determined that our maintenance staff can remove the equipment, it does estimate the need to pay $3,262 for amounts that will be paid. The vendor shall be adjusted accordingly. That's the removal, right?
That's correct, yes.
I second. Roll call.
Ms. Baca?
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Romero?
Yes.
Mr. Sproul?
Yes.
Ms. Tremaine? Mr. Verdugo?
Yes. Bond project update.
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo. Mr. Gomez will be making a short full presentation regarding the status of bond projects that are ongoing right now, so give you an idea of where we stand, where we're going, and how far we've gone. So I'll turn this over to Mr. Gomez.
Did you send me the fencing? I did. See if it's under 32, or is it just this one? Could be the, right. Well, we can start with this. Oh, there. I wanted to just give a quick overview. Thank you for this opportunity, BOC members, to let me bring an update to us about the ongoing projects that we're working on right now. One of them is the security improvements. This is the security fencing that's about 95% complete at Summit View. We have some touch-up painting to do. Also on the inside of the fence grid here, there's a trim piece that I've asked them to put on there, so they'll be doing that. But they did a very good job in even addressing the wall sconces that were there in the columns. It's very secure and solid. What they're waiting for right now is, these are held open. They're waiting for a specialist who's going to be coming in, that Liberty Fence is bringing in on their own dollar next week. That's going to help them hook up the electric magnetic locks. And there's going to, behind this window, the person there will have a button so they can see who comes in, and one of these doors will be operable. There's another picture, Mr. Baca, I think there's another one.
So is this an entrance to the school?
Yes, and this is what it looks like on the side. And so on the idea of this is, most of the principals I've spoken with said they don't want it to look institutional. So they want it to just sort of be de-emphasized. So that's why we matched, we had the paint match the color of the walls. Because the idea is that it's sort of, it's less emphasized. If this was a black or whatever, or blue, you would see it more.
So to the left there, Mr. Gomez, the blue doors, that's the entrance to the school, right?
This is the entrance to the school.
And then that's a big lobby that's open, and that column right there is open to both sides. I mean, before, it was open to both sides.
It's open in between the columns, and then there's a little gap on the column beyond.
But now if you want to go to that hallway, you have to go through the front gate and around this column here, right?
Right, and so the main entry doors are here. You cannot walk through this way. The exit width, we had to keep the same as these doors, and so the instruction to Liberty Fencing is make it at least an inch wider. Don't try to match it exactly, make sure that we have the same exit width that exists, and so we do here. And we also had them include the fencing all the way up to near the ceiling, just a few inches from the ceiling, in places like this, to make sure that nobody can climb over it. So the idea is these are open when the students are coming in, and then once class starts, these doors are locked, and one of them has a magnetic control that is seen from this window, so they can see who's ever there and let it in. Other than that, they can't go beyond this location. So this is what most of the schools have asked to have, except for Santa Clara has just the button, because from their window they can already see the exterior doors. But that might, there might be some ideas to modify and improve what they have there that we just talked about with the EMC squared proposal. Mr. Baca, I think there's another picture or two. Okay, right here we've got desert view improvements. These are ongoing right now. These photos are all from this week, and they've been doing grading. There was some concrete and some old blacktop underneath some of the work they've been doing that they raised up. They've been out there with a regional paving with a laser level to make sure that things are really going to slope. They've done an excellent job on the grading here all the way around. Bach approved a 3-foot wide asphalt walkway around here. And in talking with Justin of regional paving at the site when we started this project, he said, our machine's 8 foot wide. It'd be easier to do this 8 foot. I said, well, we can't change the price. So he calculated out, he says, it's worth it. It's going to cost me twice as much on asphalt, but less on labor. Do you mind if we make it 8 foot wide? So I said, well, that's fine. And Mr. Navarro, the track coach, loves it because he says that's going to help keep the track much cleaner. So they're going to be laying tomorrow an 8 foot wide asphalt pathway around both of the V zones in the track.
And then the fence is going to go over where?
The fence, from this line, the new code requirement for high school track fields is that the fence needs to be 1 meter out. So there'll be a couple of feet of asphalt, and then that 4 feet, new 4-foot fence that Bach's already approved will be all the way around the track. And it will have 2 vehicular access gates and 4 man gates. The man gates will be opposite either end of each bleacher area. And so that means there's going to be, from where the fence is, there's going to be over 5 feet, between 5 and 6 feet asphalt. So handicap can go from over this area, from one bleacher to another, or, a woman with a stroller or whatever. So, and then the rest, from the edge of the asphalt onward, this is all going to be 1/4 inch minus decomposed granite. So the asphalt's laid tomorrow. The sidewalk on the side of the ticket office, it goes to the front of the ticket office. It's going to come out here and die in with the asphalt for handicap. That's going to be laid on Friday. And there's a new fence that's also going from the front of the ticket office. They're replacing some of that old fence to accommodate this new sidewalk. And you're going to have two 4-foot man gates, so that at events it can open up both of them or just one, but either way it's ADA compliant clearance.
It'll also minimize the problem we have with people kicking rocks onto the track surface itself with so much pavement now.
They kick it they kick, the bigger rocks have been kicked on the track and also through the fence on the tennis courts, but now it's just going to be 1/4 inch minus in both locations. And then with the 8-foot asphalt, it's going to be difficult for them to kick that 1/4 inch minus to the
So are you using asphalt or sidewalk to connect over towards the baseball field?
Right now, that the baseball field portion of it, we did not present yet. That was the one little piece that wasn't done yet at this time. But the over here, people can, ADA can, a wheelchair or a walker can go buy a ticket, go completely on a new sidewalk, all the way into the asphalt that's along here, all the way to the asphalt around here, and this asphalt also continues over to the bleachers that are on the east side. So they'll be able to access both sides of the bleachers around the track and football field. But there is a little bit of graded, decomposed granite area between the asphalt over here and the baseball ramp.
But I think through the, you have that emergency lane through the back side which they can access, which is asphalt. So it really isn't that far of a distance to get to the ramp to the baseball field, correct?
No, it's not far at all. Mr. Baca, can we see the next photo? This is showing on the what is it, northwest part of the track, where this is graded because that asphalt is going to come around the circle and go all the way and butt up, flush out like this. So the grading included this area here to make sure that when it rains, this asphalt is draining properly to this area, which goes beyond. Mr. Baca, the next photo? Oh, isn't there, did we go, I think we're going up. Or the other direction.
Did you have a question?
Yeah. So the width of the asphalt will be
8 feet.
The width of that.
Well, or close. It might come to here, but it's 8 feet, at least 8 feet.
Okay. Wow.
From this curve.
And
And then it slopes to drain. There we go. And on this area here, which is, the southwest corner, there's an asphalt pathway here. There was asphalt that came up here, but it didn't drain properly. So that was demoed, and that's part of what you see right there. So they're going to lay new asphalt here. And then right in this area, the starting area, with the new fencing, there's going to be 2 large gates that swing open outward for vehicular access here, and then over by the other bleachers, there's one more rolling gate that will roll on the asphalt for vehicular access.
So the drainage was taken care of with the revamping of this asphalt and stuff?
Yes. So the track in here drains inside, to the inside. That's the regulation. But this area here had a lot of places where we saw opposite the before too.
Ponding area.
Yeah, and that's all been corrected. So everything's going to drain properly when this is completed. Right here, where they demoed the asphalt, they also graded this area and then reorganized the existing stone because all of this is retention. So So this will drain properly, the water here will go down into this area. If you were standing there, you would see the slope, it's sort of hard on this photo. But regional paving has been very thorough in using the laser transit to make sure that everything's going to drain all the way around. Right here, I don't know if you remember, there used to be little ramps of asphalt. So that's been removed. They brought in some earth and they compacted it, and they're doing a good job on the compaction using water. And so the quarter-inch minus DG will be all the way here. This is where the new concrete walkway will butt up to, and that's 8 foot wide. And that will go over here to die in with the asphalt that's right there. So that ADA can go around here to the bleacher on the west, or go this way to the bleachers on the east side. And then there's some bathroom improvements. I just wanted to show you one of those. There you go. Did you go back one? Thank you. This is what the bathrooms, the average staff bathroom looked like before, and then the next photo. This is what it looks like now with the new tile wainscot, new sink and faucet, low flow, as well as a low flow toilet. Is that what? No, it's that way?
No, yeah, there aren't any others in that list.
Oh. Can we go back to the beginning? Sure. That's okay. That's all on that list. Okay. Just one more. That last one email I gave you that has the Desert View High School. Is this plan? Yes. Can we scroll? This is the color one. This is the proposal that was reviewed today with Mr. Castellum and Ms. Govan and Mr. I think Carl
McCurry.
Right, McCurry, who's part of the committee for the remodeling and addition for Desert View Music Complex. On this is there were two proposals. One where they put the band room on this side of the building. The other is right here on the west side. So in this proposal, this is presently the exterior wall of the building. In this proposal, first off, in the scope of work, originally we were going to put additional spaces around. But for the budget, EMC Squared said that they can do the band room that they need to for at least 5 or 7 years out. And Ms. Govan and Mr. Castellum agreed that the growth of the band program is going to need additional square footage. So in this, they have a large band room, and then they have their practice spaces. There's structural walls here that are not being touched, other than a few doorways, which isn't a big cost item, but they're left in place. Presently, there's no bathrooms in this area. When they use the bathrooms, they go all the way over to the gymnasium, both staff and students to use bathrooms. So this would include 2 student bathrooms and 2 faculty bathrooms. The existing spaces would be gutted out and remodeled. And then this is new construction here. Right now, the existing curb is right at this line. So in this proposal, it proposes going out and into part of the driveway. One of the things that talked about is that in improving the road for the buses, because buses come along this road, which they'd still be able to do, this curb area, and presently they come along here. And so one of the conversations we had was to bring the buses here and swoop back into against the curb. But in discussing this with Carlos earlier, he said that when the buses come up here in the turning radius, they're having a little problem anyway. And then there was another comment about any future expansion you want to do to fine arts in future years, or to the weight room or whatever. If this driveway, instead of sweeping back, went straight, and then did a larger radius, it could turn over and take up part of the June 12th is already scheduled for the tennis court improvements. They're going to demo the court and a half that's presently in front of the ticket office. And there was no plan on what to do with that empty space. So they're going to, yeah, so now with the parking spaces that will be lost here, they're going to be able to be accommodated where that court and a half is, including ADA parking, which presently there's no ADA parking over there. ADA presently has to park over here and do a long hike to the ticket office. So, and there's between $40,000 and $50,000 available in the Pima County Fund for bus improvement, bus stop and driveway improvements. What's the name of that fund, Hector?
Adjacent ways?
Adjacent ways.
But we need SFB approval.
Right.
To be able to utilize. We have cash. It's our fund. It's tax dollars that were assessed on taxpayers for the purpose of making improvements to sidewalks, bus bays, etc. The property adjacent to the streets. So there's $40,000 available that's ours, but in order to spend it, we need SFB approval to be able to spend it.
So as long as SFB approves that those funds are available, EMC Squared does a lot of schoolwork, and they believe that there's no problem meeting their requirements on that. And so this new bus route will be able to have larger radiuses, go all the way around where the tennis courts are now, in front of the tennis courts, and basically be almost straight with the gates that are right ahead on Valencia there. So the route will be improved as far as the bus route. No parking would be lost. There'd be a future benefit for building additions if they desire to do that. And the music department is getting everything they want in the size of this band. So this is the way the present proposal is, and everybody was agreeing with it today. EMC Squared, I believe, we're going to have another meeting next week, and if everything's approved with that, they'll get their consultants on board, which they already have, I guess, preliminarily lined up, and the construction documents they plan to have completed within 2 months. So that would be at the end of July. And so meanwhile, we would be preparing, getting ready for bid for the construction of this. And of course, this is all exterior to the existing wall, so this area can be cordoned off, and this construction can be done even during the school year.
Mr. Gomez?
Yes.
I can't see too well your color-coded little box squares, so...
This is the orchestra room?
Yeah. Okay.
This is the guitar room, the mariachi room.
The what room?
Well, the guitar room, what's the dancer?
Folklorico?
Yeah.
What's the other room you said?
Well, I said mariachi, but there's not one. I think the dancing room. The dancing room. But I do know what mariachis are. My parents had Los Chinguitos Feos play at some of their parties. Yeah, and then we saw them, and my dad saw them when I was with him in Disney World. Years later, I guess they were playing there for a long time.
Some of the changuitos are mariachi colors.
Father just passed away from.
I think Mariachi Cobra, they were the ones that were in Disney World.
Yeah, some of those guys were original changuitos.
Oh, okay. And this is the band room. So here we have, spaces for the band room. Ms. Govan and Mr. Costello added a little bit more storage space here and here to make sure that they had both costume storage, uniform storage, as well as equipment storage. And then they're going to have lockers for the band equipment. And that's what's proposed right now. The other thing that's added is there would be doors right here. This would be the main corridor for the music room. And they would have some display cases in there for apparently they have awards and trophies and so forth.
The band.
So but there would be enough space for future awards as well.
So there's no like exits out the other side of the building, or because I guess because there's a big fence on it. No need to have
There's exiting right here.
just there, yeah, not on the other side.
And then this is an exiting hallway for the auditorium that they can use, and so that's not being disturbed other than they may propose to put new flooring in there.
And not having the risers like they did at the other?
No, they don't want.
They don't want the risers?
So that's what would be demoed in this existing space, and then they have some closet storage along here, that would be removed as well. They wanted the open space, and so their other offices and storage spaces would be removed.
A lot of square footage. It's great.
I'm surprised track and football didn't ask for storage on the side of the building also.
Well, they're going to have it now with the racquetball courts being converted to storage. So they each have their own space for that.
Is that it? Is that it?
Yes.
Election of bond advisory chairperson and co-chair.
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo. That time of year, we have to elect a new chairperson and a new co-chair. And for the bylaws, process calls for nominations for chair, and then seconding and closing the nominations, and then taking the vote, so.
Do we have to vote individually, or can we clump them together?
I think individually, one for chair.
Okay, do you guys want to stay on? Okay, then I'll nominate Mr. Verdugo as chairperson. So make the
You're
motion.
so efficient, I like it.
Cut to the chase.
Cut to the chase.
I need- yeah, I need-
Second.
Roll call. I made the nomination, you can't vote.
Ms. Baca?
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yeah.
Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Romero?
Yes.
Mr. Sproul?
Yes.
Ms. Tomei? Mr. Redondo?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll make the recommendation or the motion to appoint Mr. Rodriguez as co-chair.
Roll call.
Ms. Baca?
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Romero?
Yes.
Mr. Sproul?
Yes.
Ms. Tomei? Mr. Redondo?
Yes.
Request for future agenda items?
Yes, sir. At this time, if any block member wants to suggest an item for future agenda, we're meeting on June the
21st.
20.
21st. June 21st is our next meeting. So we'll be meeting 2 weeks before then, which would be
Yes.
the 7th, to set the agenda. And that'll be set in concrete.
So I had made a request, I think, to the district about possibly putting a fence over at
Mr.
Mission.
Banner, we got that proposal already, but we'll bring that back. We'll
Okay.
agree to.
So the only thing I mentioned to Mr. Huey was, since they had that incident in the park, that active shooter,
Okay.
that if people are in that line, they're gonna get trapped in there unless there's a gate or something for people to get into the school ground. So may consider putting a gate somewhere.
The gates, we got, we'll check with Mr. Hewitt.
Well, it had two man gates proposed.
Oh, does it? Okay. I thought it was
yes.
just one solid fence all the way down.
No, I told him, I asked Philip to include two man
Oh,
gates.
good.
We haven't determined the locations yet, but there's two that
All
are
right,
in the
so
bid.
it's taken care of.
That'll be brought back on June 21st.
Right, right, that's part of the presentation then.
Along
Because
with
school's
the-
ending soon, and then also repairing some of the concrete that is lifted.
Oh, yeah.
Demoing some of
They
that.
have to keep putting
pouring new slab.
cones there.
Cones.
We had a lady trip.
And grinding it down, can only grind it down so much
know.
where it becomes a point where you really need to saw cut it out and replace it.
Okay.
Last I heard, the day I got your email, I went and visited Mr. Huey and with the head custodian, and he was going to thoroughly clean that drinking fountain that same day.
Oh, and
Mr.
they
Huey
did.
was there with him, and so my best guess is it was done right away.
Yeah. The only problem is the birds enjoy it now, so. Yeah. I think we gotta figure out, put a cover on it or something, so, jeez.
Other than that, see, we're meeting on June 7th, and thank you much. I think, remind everybody, that graduation is in next week, and I think you've all received the invitations to the graduation at Sunnyside, and
That's
this was everyone? Cool.
I have a question. under unfinished business, because I keep forgetting to ask all the time, all those flooring issues we have, like at Craycroft and Lofton, those are taken care of, and everybody's paid off also at Summit View. The flooring issues.
Or the flooring
Yeah, all those are
company,
taken care of.
the
I
flooring
think we
company
can
has been
ask.
paid off in full. Some issues were discovered after the fact. Some warranty issues will be addressed though too.
Any warranty issues, like there was an ice cooler machine in the cafeteria at Loffer, and when they moved it, it hadn't been polished underneath. So those are all warranty issues, and so we have a 2-year period to make a list of those things and have that done. Wholesale Flooring is obligated to fulfill that. And then there was some misunderstanding when we were doing things over the spring break, the improvements. 2 of the people, the concrete floor polisher, the foreman, as well as the salesman, Dan McShane, had emailed me a list of the rooms that were going to be polished during spring break. And that was Mr. Costellum's understanding also. And included in that were 2 of the B rooms, classrooms. But then once the work started, and I met out there with the people, the guys doing the work, I told them about these rooms, and I went and opened them and showed him the rooms, and he said, well, they're not on my assignment. And so I showed him my email, and he says, yeah, but I'm a subcontractor with Wholesale Floors, and this is not what they told me. So anyways, I contacted some people at Wholesale Flooring, and that night, the owner of the company called me and said, I understand you're asking my guys to do work that's not in our contract. I said, not that I'm aware of. I said, I'm going off an email that, Dan McShane and Kenny sent me, and these are the rooms that they listed. So he said, let me get back to you. So he got back to me and he said, well, they made a mistake. He said, because it's not in the contract, and so I checked the contract, and those rooms were not specifically listed in the contract. And part of the confusion was in the summer before, last summer when they were supposed to have finished that project, they came up short on time, and Mr. Costellum said that, he said, well, okay, well then you can do these 2 classrooms in addition when you do it later or whatever. He was of the understanding they had said okay, but the owner, the way he presented it, I said it's not in the contract. There was nothing else I could say, because I just had verbal talk, no emails or no documentation to verify that those B rooms were in the contract. So as far as the contract goes, they completed their obligation.
And I think the key question is, are we going to recommend that they do any future work? No. Okay.
Did they replace the tile squares under the bookshelves at the schools? Because they worked around them at Longford and some at Craycroft. They worked around the bookshelves. They didn't want to remove them, so they worked around them. But I pushed, you saw me, I tilted over a bookshelf, and it was the old tile squares. I mean, we paid for them, and I saw the contract that stated that they were going to move the bookshelves, and move the furniture, and put in the tile squares.
Yes, that is true. It's in the contract, and I was with a representative from Wholesale Flooring, and we visited the schools that had questions about that for their library bookshelves. But part of the requirement is, with Wholesale Floors, they said, you have to remove your books from it. We can't move those. In fact, and we verified it, because some of the bookcases were old enough that if you try to remove them with all the weight of the books, they're going to fall apart. And so they said, you have to take the books out and do whatever you want with them, and we will move the furniture into the hallway, recarpet this, and move everything back. But then they would have to put the books back in. And so they opted to make sure that they had enough. So I asked the librarians, do you have any plans to move these books within the next 5 years or so? And they said, no. I said, well, you can either remove the books before spring break so that we can do that work, or leave it, and they're leaving enough carpet that if you do move, you'll be able to put those, we'll be able to put those carpet squares down in place. And so that's what I think 2 of the schools opted to do. That was their choice, and they do have boxes. In fact, in one of the closets I looked, there was, I think, 10 boxes of large boxes of those, of that carpet squares that would be more than enough to put under those bookshelves.
What about the baseboards? All those are taken care of, that we're lifting and work adhere to the...
Yes, as far as I know, all of that was corrected and completed at the last touch-up at spring break, but the majority of that was done during the Christmas break.
But I know there's still problems at Summit View the last time I visited. I think it was in February.
Well, there was a few broken pieces of tile where it meets the concrete hallways, but there was no tile match for that. In fact, I myself, I went over in spring break. I went to 3 different tile stores and suppliers, wholesale suppliers in Tucson, and I had a photograph of the tile and had their people try to match it. And I even bought a box of tile and took it over there, and it didn't match. It didn't match. We couldn't get it to match because the age of the tile, they said they don't carry them anymore. And if you go in their showrooms, I was surprised because now at least 50% of their new products are those plank proportion type of tiles that look like wood, or they're different colors and textures and so forth. So they're changing a lot of stock.
Thank you. Make the motion to adjourn.
I just want to make one comment. It has nothing to do with this. I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Ludeman today. I met with him for like an hour, and when I was done, I told him, I feel like I've been here for 9 hours and I'm drained. That guy is such high energy that, oh my God.
And he mows his lawns.
I tried to get a word out, and he just kept talking.
But he's
But he's
full of
good.
energy.
Yeah.
But he runs a tight ship there. School
Oh, yeah.
is good.
Mr. Ludeman?
Okay.
Is it principal?
Yes.
I make the motion to adjourn.
If he's all at 38, that's a
Roll call.
young guy.
Ms. Baca?
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez?
High energy.
Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez? Ms. Romero?
Made a good
Mr.
point.
Strong?
Yes.
Ms. Tomei? Mr. Redullo?
Thank you, thank you.
You guys the same? I deal with it. Now, sorry. Angry parent.
Yeah, Mr. Ludeman.